Okay, so let's
Oh,
first talk about your fiver thing, like your little notes. So you've got beating teams that scale well and have great 5v5 and stay perma-grouped. Yeah, I can definitely see that being a problem for Quinn. In particular, stuff like
yeah.
enchanters with hyper carry, AD carries, and bruiser junglers. And I think this game, I remember like their comp it looked something like that, right? Like I don't know when you press tab, but I
Yes.
remember seeing like a Seraphine and a Cho'Gath. Anyway, it was something crazy like that. You find
It's
that. Oh yeah,
exactly
you go.
exactly that situation that you
Yeah.
described.
Well, good VOD then. Find that even if I snowball games, these teams get back in because of bounty slash combat mechanics, and once they start grouping for third drake onwards, it feels like there is no way to win. Yeah, I can definitely see you running into this sort of stuff. This is definitely what Quinn would struggle with. I know this is kind of a consequence of playing an early game snowball champ. You always figure out how to win these games. If you fall behind, you tend to reverse snowball into 10 deaths. You find it hard to break that cycle. Is that something this game that we'll see, or is that like this didn't happen this game?
That didn't happen this game. That does
Okay.
happen to me, but I would
Yeah.
say that's like maybe 20-30% of games,
Okay.
which is probably a lot higher than it should be.
Yeah, so I just asked because like obviously if it's in this game, we can look at it specifically, but to give you some like general advice for this, I think it is obviously hard, like you say, to play from behind as Quinn, and the best thing you can probably do is either just wait for waves to come to you and try and play around like your stronger members of the team, and another thing is you could try like check or identify like which of the enemy team's members is weakest and see if you can like farm them to get yourself back in the game. But yeah, like it is hard. Like Quinn from behind is like not that useful. So possibly you can just like let waves come to you rather than like pushing out the side lane and try just like play more for your team at that point. But the reality is if you fall behind on Quinn, your chances of winning the game aren't super high. And I like what you said after that. You know you should review the first 2 to 3 deaths, focus on not letting them happen. Yep, absolutely. You can improve your damage control, probably. Yep. Finally, you have a hard time playing with the late game scaling jungler when you're against a dominant early game jungler. Yep, I know your pain. I definitely feel that when I play Lucian. I feel like I want to.
I saw,
Oh
yeah, I
yeah,
was gonna say I saw that Lucian vid where you were playing Lucian versus
yes,
Xerath,
that was so
and
annoying.
I was like, this is literally what like it feels like for me half the time in like games I've
Yeah.
played. It was very illuminating for me as well.
Yeah, no, that is actually the worst case thing. Whenever I have like Kane on my team, probably Kane and Shyvana are the two champs. I just feel like, man, if you pick this as a jungler, I just like they're good champs. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the way I want to play the game. It just makes me not want to play the game pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, you feel like you want to try to get leads through your champ at the beginning. Mid prior punishing lane, getting off roams and kills. It's good you have like very strong idea of what you want to do in the game and how Quinn does that. You end up just having the enemy jungler ruin your ability to do so. Find it really hard to play so as it feels like you get outscaled. Hey, let me just quickly see if I can refresh this for some HD. If not, it'll probably be
Oh yeah,
okay.
that'd be sick.
Maybe it'll get
Oh,
it
that
a bit
sucks.
later. No, it's not a big deal anyway, to be honest. Like I think we'll be able to see pretty much everything. It's just for a while it might be little low. And yeah, so at the end, I'll write up a bunch of notes and we'll like go over them, and I'll copy paste that to you so you'll have it. And obviously, you'll have this VOD later if you want it as well. So Quinn versus Veigar. So I think yeah, this is a game where you could really snowball. One thing you might want to think about is when you're playing against a champ, or rather a team comp with a ton of CC, you might actually want to consider cleanse. I think it sucks not having
Mm,
ignite on Quinn, but against like Veigar Seraphine, like it's pretty rough. If you do
yeah.
want to team fight, like it's possible maybe that you could just avoid team fighting altogether. Because yeah, this definitely looks like the sort of game you would struggle with. Like this is like Veigar Senna Seraphine scales disgustingly well. And Cho'Gath is pretty good scaling too, especially if he's a tank. So yeah, it could be hard. Maybe Cleanse would make it easier, but I think you could make an argument for just taking Ignite and like snowballing the game. And oh, one last thing, you can see my mouse, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. I always check that just because if I don't,
Yeah,
you're not
and
gonna be able to see everything. So yeah.
yeah, and this game was one of those games where like like I did snowball really hard and then like we still lost, and it's kind of like I sort of know why I lost to some degree because I know there were moments where I like threw the game and there were moments where I was like autopiloting when I shouldn't have been, and I kind of like in my own review saw them and I was like, yeah, this was like really obvious. I should have won, but I also wanted to show this VOD too because I think this is a VOD where I generally did things that I thought were correct. Like I
Hmm.
didn't like die to like stupid mistakes or things where like like I don't want to show you VOD where it's like, oh, I died to like something because I just did like a misplay that I thought was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
misplay. It was more
exactly.
like me like You know, like what do I not know, or what can I improve upon here?
Yeah, that's good. I like that you put a lot of thought into choosing the VOD because I think that's underrated. Like, I have had, I think, pretty good VODs so far from other people, but there have been a couple where I was like, maybe I could help you more if they were a better VOD, and some where I just like wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. Like it felt like the game was kind of just fucked for them no matter what. But I think I still gave them good stuff, right? But anyway, if you choose a good VOD, it makes it easier. So I like what you're doing here. You're getting a little bit of a slow push on. I think here I would actually commit a bit harder to this. So if you are going to play aggressive like this, I think playing in line with this creep here, this is quite good because Veigar has to choose between, hitting you and hitting these creeps. But if Veigar does use a CD like this, I think you should commit a bit more. So like you move away to try dodge it. And like
That's
if you dodge it, I guess it's better. But also I think if this guy gets within range to like Q you, you could be in range probably to E him right here. Like I think this is E range, right? I don't play Quinn, but I'm like pretty sure. Yeah. So if that's like E auto and electrocute, I think that's definitely better for you because he should be really scared about dying if he gets low. And I don't think before level 6 there's like any chance you die to Veigar unless you like dive him. So you can afford to trade your HP evenly, and probably like better than evenly here to be honest. But you can afford to trade evenly, and like move him closer to kind of that like all-in threshold. I think you could have been crazy there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That was good though that you like zoned him off. I really like what you did here. So like even though you punched a bit late, this is really good. Like you recognize he's on cooldown. He's not allowed to play the game at the moment. So very good aggressive move from you. And I also like your positioning here is very, very nice. So you're in line with this creep, but you don't really punish him for it. So I would say you move again just a little bit too far back. I think here you should probably stand like just about right here.
Yeah, because he was about to last hit it.
Yeah, so it's like if he Qs this, you can E him. If he autos this, you can E him. And if he Qs you, to be honest, you could still probably E him. But like he would also give up the creep. So yeah, tiny little misposition. But all those little things will add up, especially when you're playing like one of these like mega snowball champs that just takes over the game. So another thing is you should know here that their jungler started bot side because you see their bot side leeches. So right now you're hugging the right side, but we'll just see if you ward kind of like the correct thing a bit later. But yeah, like right now, to be honest, right now you're playing pretty well.
Yeah, and also like kind of my main like focus or learning objective like right now as a player is trying to play these early levels like correctly with the correct aggression because I think I previously to this I spent a lot of games where I was playing kind of just like handshaking wave and kind of just like, oh, I don't care about you, I'm just gonna shove and roam. But then like people pointed out to me that I should be trying to contest minions, and I spent a lot of time like learning that, and like in your laning guide you talk about it too. So this is like one of the number one things I work on right now against like every champ is like kind of being like, if you want to see us, you have to like fight me, kind of.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good that you're working on that. It'll have like a... Okay, this was actually sort of a bad move, I think. So here, I'm not really sure why. You should realize that Veigar will always just like use his QCS so he can stack. So you never want to be in line. And to be honest, both, like your position right now is like, right now you're in line for his Q to hit you here. So you should either go here and like kind of be zoning him off here. But in both situations, you're like moving from one spot where he can Q you to just another spot where he can Q you. So you block it, right? But you do lose HP, and I don't think that's worth it. Maybe if you've already built enough of a lead, but you don't really have that. I don't think you want to lose too much HP. But I think
I think that was a misplay because I was trying to like mirror him because he was like stepping on the opposite side of me, and I wanted to like get up to them, but I didn't realize he would Q the minion there.
Yeah, I mean it's not a huge deal because I don't think he can ever all in you, but it's just like again the little optimizations. So
yeah, they definitely add up.
I think also in general here you were kind of hugging to the wrong side. I think so. To be honest, I don't think I ever would have crossed from here. I think you should know that the jungler's like doing 3 camps bot side, and that means that around 230 or so, you're going to want to ward top side. But now, you're kind of... It's pretty low chance, but if the enemy jungler had done 3 camps bot side into mid, you would probably die here. What was their
Mm.
jungler again? It was Lee Sin, right? Oh
Lee
yeah.
Sin,
So
yeah.
it is possible we could do that, although I think it's pretty low chance because they have Veigar. Um, but definitely soon, and I would say probably before this next wave. So normally I say ward at 2:30, but you kind of also want to ward when it's like a good time for you, as in like you're not going to lose any creeps or anything for it. So I think right now pushing this wave up this far is going to be quite greedy, and also if you go to ward now, you're probably giving up like probably one creep for it. So I think if you left just a little bit earlier and warded like over here or up
Mm.
here, you
See.
probably would be completely safe on this wave. And it's again, like I don't really think you're gonna get ganked, but there is a chance because I think Lee should know that Sedge won't be here. Oh wait, you have your W. I actually just completely forgot about that. So yeah, that actually saved you. I can't believe I forgot
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
so yeah, and I definitely see. So what I was kind of thinking in this moment, and I think I ward after this wave, is I was thinking that like Lee Sin, like I was thinking that even if Lee Sin ganks me from the
Yeah,
bot side because of like my vault and because of Veigar's like inability to kind of have early game kill threats, I would kind of be okay. And I was sort of in the position of like I'm gonna shove 3 in ward to
yeah,
stop the top side gank because the bot side gank, I didn't see myself dying from it
yeah.
with
No,
this
it's pretty low
jungle mid
chance
combo.
with the bot lane gank. I really like how you use your W there, and I think you're right. I think because you have your W, you can greed this extra wave without having to ward. That's definitely like a Quinn specific thing, and you definitely knew more about that than I did, so that was cool. So you shove this wave in. Definitely now, I think should be a ward angle. You have
Yeah.
a lot of prior. I think this ward is too shallow because you have so
Uh,
much time here. So you shove this wave all the way in. The next wave is like at your tier 3. So right here, you could ward like either really deep on the raptors, you could even ward over the wall on red, or you could ward this dot bush here. So there's like a lot of wards you could get, and this is probably the weakest one because it doesn't
uh,
really give you any. It doesn't.
so
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I actually wanted to ask about that because I did like experiment with a lot of stuff. Like I experimented with warding raptors. I did experiment with like doing the 3 wave crash into
Hmm.
warding the enemy's buff.
Yeah,
Um, what I kind of saw in my experience is that if I ward his red, then if I wasn't able to instantly like kill him on his red, which sometimes I could, then he would just like see it and walk away. But then I wouldn't have vision of his game because I like know he's on his red. Like I kind
yeah,
of already know this,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I think.
So I'm just wondering,
Well, I
is the
think like
pixel the best?
you could ward the pixel, but to be honest, I don't think you're really gankable. Like you said, like they don't have the strongest gank setup. And also you have the Sejuani and the top river, so I don't think you need to be scared of a gank. So in my opinion, this would be more to give vision to your team. Like I think if you ward
Okay.
this, it helps make your like jungler and top make better decisions. Um, and yeah, I think you're pretty much safe no matter what. Uh, so yeah, I think the ward could definitely be greedier here, especially with your jungler on this side. I think this roam is pretty. Okay, I think roaming with your jungler here is pretty good, but I think roaming the way you did is pretty bad. So I think
Yeah.
right now you want this roam to be sort of fast because like you are gonna have to go back to this wave eventually, but you do have a lot of time. I think if you sync up with your jungler here rather than just doing this, like I think maybe you do this to try and help Fiora or something, but like you said, you should know or you should have like a pretty good guess that Lee's on this red, and if you were with this Sedge while she has red trinket, this guy dies right here. I'm not sure. Maybe he still dies. Let's see if you can
Yeah,
get him
he
or not.
does. Um,
Okay, yeah. So he still dies. I definitely think you could have got this without
I
flashing
know.
and
Yeah.
probably without igniting, although that's a bit harder to say. But overall, it was a good roam, and also like because you 3 wave crashed, the wave bounces back to you. So in terms of like the actual fundamental stuff, you've done it really well, especially the wave control. Yep, ping for gank is really good here. You're zoning him. Yeah, I like a lot of your laning fundamentals. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
did. I
is
did
really good.
try to incorporate a lot from the video you posted on the laning fundamentals.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to see. To be honest, it's like,
I,
yeah,
I
it's
actually have
cool.
a question about this too.
Yeah,
So in this game, like I roamed top, and my logic for it was I thought Lee Sin was gonna gank Fiora because she
yeah,
just killed Cho'Gath. So I was
yeah,
like, oh, I'm gonna defend her. But then, like normally in this situation, I actually would have just done the cheater recall because I like like if Fiora wasn't in that position, I would have actually just based. Like I didn't think Sej would go for the invade. Or like, do you think that like I should always try to do like this kind of like coordinated jungle play? And if the jungler
Mm,
doesn't come, should I just like recall?
let's go a little bit back. I'm not sure the cheater recall is that good for you here, just because like, okay, you do get a longsword and you are going to come back to a wave bouncing to you, but I think it's really important that Quinn gets Dirk on her first base, and so if you're just basing for another longsword, I feel like that's not as pressuring as if you just stayed on the map and made sure you had Dirk for your first base. And I think also if you cheat a recall right now, you don't place any vision for your team, and like Sejuani is entering the river. So I would say cheater recall on Quinn isn't as good as other champs, because like, okay, on other champs you have, say, like a Dark Seal or like a Tear, like these really good
Mm,
items, and also
yeah.
your spike as those champions is so far away. Like Lost Chapter is 1300 gold, and what's the other one? Like Revolver is 1050, but you're starting with longsword, so Dirk's what, like 750, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
So yeah,
750.
you can get your spike a lot earlier than other people, and I think if you just base for a longsword, it's not that great. Also, another thing is that not always, but generally, basing with full resources is bad, because it means like you didn't really spend your resources. You know, like if a champion like Rise that always goes for cheater recalls dumps his entire mana on the third wave and then he bases, you know? So he has no
Mm,
more resources to like spend on the map, but you have priority, you have like full HP and mana, like you can do stuff on the map right now. And I feel like, yeah, cheater recalling gets you like a little bit ahead, but it's like the lowest pressure play. And especially when you're like in this early game champion, right? Like you need to go for high pressure plays, not just like these small incremental advantages. If you're playing something like, say, Victor, that would be like, you know, you don't have good skirmishing, you don't really have good roams, you have some good items to base, and you probably don't have many resources, then yeah, you can look for it. I think on Quinn, I would look to be more proactive in the early game, and don't go for too many cheater recalls unless you know you can buy something like good, or if there's just nothing to do, right? Like if there's nothing to do, don't just sit there, obviously. But I think you could normally find something to do, whether that's like deep warding, or playing with your jungler or something like that.
gotcha. So in this situation, like let's say the Sage didn't move anywhere. Like let's say she just went to do her blue
Hmm.
and just like did her top side. Should I have like rotated like into Lee's jungle and just kind of warded and then just caught my wave?
Yeah, I think so. I think you just push this, and then you go here and you ward red, I think. And then honestly, probably the highest pressure play is to, until your wave comes back. So I think, okay, you go now, you ward this red, and then the highest pressure play until your wave comes back is to just sit in this bush for like 5 to 10 seconds.
Mm.
That way, if Lee enters the river, you get a chunk on him. Also, if Lee passed this way, um, you know, you'll be able to do something. Maybe you could even sit a little bit further up, just in case he wall jumps over and tries to come behind Fiora. Although it's more likely he goes through the try because she's so pushed up. But yeah, I think like sometimes the most you can pressure the map is just by like sitting in fog, basically. And yeah, obviously, like, yeah, in this situation when your Sedge is going in, it's more pressure to go with her. But like you said, if your jungler is just clearing, I think you go ward, you go sit in the bush, wait for your wave to come back, and then you'll probably be in a pretty good spot.
Gotcha. And if I'm playing with like an Evelyn and they have like a Warwick, for example, would
Yeah.
I still want to do the same thing?
I think if you have an Evelyn, it's more likely probably that you'd want to ward just the dot bush, because there'd be very low chance that Evelyn would ever enter the river, and that could, say, like, okay, say it's like a Lee Sin again, right? And say you come here and you ward this bush, but you have no jungler in the river. There's a chance. I think if Lee Sin is good, he'd have to be quite good to recognize it. But I think if Lee Sin would challenge it, right, he would ward hop this wall, path around behind you, and then you would probably die because he would know you have no ward. So I think if you have a jungler where they're like just AFK farming, so yeah, like Evelyn's, Kane, stuff like
Oh,
that, then it's much safer just to ward this dot bush here, and make yourself kind of completely safe to any wraparound gank. I think most junglers will enter the river here, because like if they're pathing up, especially, there'll be red buff advantage versus blue buff. So they should win fights, but yeah, I mean it's like sort of jungle specific, and we're getting into like pretty high levels there. So I guess like to make it easier for yourself, if you feel like you're gonna be unsafe, just ward this. If you can feel like you can get away with something more aggressive, then you can just like ward their buff.
okay, gotcha.
Coming back to me. Oh yeah, we already watched this, but this was super, super good by you. So you recognize just how crazy strong you are compared to him. You're not even gonna let him play the game. This is super, super good. But yeah, he's mad. He's so mad. Okay, this is really good.
I think I kind of broke the freeze or like messed it up a little, like by I think, but I hold it because I have red buff. I think.
Yeah, no, I think this is good. Like, to be honest, they still have 4 range creeps, so you should still have the wave pushed to you. Maybe if you'd left a few more creeps alive, it would have been better. But here, I think using the Q, this is when it's like maybe gonna start pushing back to them because now you've done some AOE to the wave. Maybe this will still push to you. I'm not totally sure.
I think I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember what I think. I think what I may have thought is I was like, he backed, so I should just try to slow push this and recall.
Do we have HD options? Okay, whatever.
It takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a while when I upload too, so I guess it's just YouTube. But yeah, this is still really good. Like, he's losing so much, and he also doesn't really get anything off his base. Like, he doesn't get any big ticket items. Nothing that's going to change how the matchup plays out. So I really like what you did here. Yep, this is so good, by the way. This is so good. I'm proud of you, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is kind of how I try to like play most lanes.
Yeah, this I think could be more aggressive. So I think here again, think of standing in line with the creep. So right now you should be positioned here. So he doesn't get this one for free. So that's one more that you could have denied. I don't like this ward very much. I feel like because you have so much priority over mid, and like you said, you actually have decent tools for escaping ganks, you can afford to get deeper wards than you're doing, and this is like very shallow, and also you're giving up, I guess, only 1 creep for it, so it's not that costly, but I think, again, just the ward, it doesn't offer as much as you could, you know? If the lane is more even, and you don't have such a big advantage, then you can do wards like this, and it's good, but the thing is, you're so much stronger than your opponent that you can make the game really annoying for the enemy jungler. To be honest, if you like push this wave and either based or looked for a deep ward, probably like maybe you could even ward and then base. Depends how much time you have, because Quinn will get back to lane quicker than other champs. So maybe you can ward and then base, but junglers really hate it when you ward their camps. It's really, really difficult to play the game as a jungler if the enemy team always knows where you are, and that's one thing that like Quinn doesn't really have utility, right? Like, she doesn't have any CC or anything, but this is one form of like utility that you can kind of add to the team. Is you're sort of like a walking Ashe arrow, you know? Like, you can kind of like find where the enemy jungler is a lot of the time by just like going and checking which camps are up with your W, or by dropping really aggressive wards. So yeah, I think you could offer a little bit more to your team in kind of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I see. So yeah, I get that makes a lot of sense. I'll definitely try to do them more often. If I have like a very favorable lane matchup and I'm like very dominant, to get deeper wards if I'm not under like gank threat.
Yeah. Cool. I think here this is maybe a bad base. Check. What would you have thought? No, I think it's pretty good, actually. So, I was going to say, if you wanted, you could stay in lane until you have R, and that way you could get back even quicker to guarantee that it freezes. But I think because you based on a cannon, I don't know if you did this consciously, but if you did, then it's really good. Like, because you based on a cannon wave, or before a cannon wave, rather, like, yeah, he can't shove it, which means that even without ult, you can get here in time. So you played this well, if you did it, you know, consciously.
Yeah, I think what I try to do is if I crash 3 and I don't base, what I do is I like slow push 2 and then 6 is the cannon and I base when that comes. I think that's how I tend to play my games, where I don't cheat or recall.
Yeah.
And then here I think I'm shoving because I have 6 and I wanted to just like roam because
yeah,
he's gone.
I can understand wanting to roam here, but I actually think it's hard to tell because you need to look at the lanes to see if they're actually gankable, because if I can't see their HP, but if I look at the map right now, it's like Cho'Gath is under his tower and your jungler's on the other side of the map. So I don't think you can dive Cho'Gath, but if Cho'Gath's on 10 HP, then you can dive Cho'Gath, right? So we really need to know what HP like the side laners have. And then also if you look at bot, like what was their combo again? It was like Senna
Seraphine, Senna.
Seraphine. Yeah, so they're like really hard to gank. Your bot lane's low and they're under tower. So without knowing their HP values, to me, it looks like nowhere is really gankable at the moment. And so if nowhere is gankable, then you'd want to just freeze this and deny this whole wave. But like if they are gankable, then it's good to push out. But the problem is you didn't gather the information that you need to make a decision here. And so you kind of just blindly push. And I still don't know if it's correct or not because we still can't see. So yeah, if you can like
you're
gather
totally right.
information, it's really good. I think we get a little bit of info on Cho here.
Yeah, I just looked up top because I saw she like killed the Lee Sin or something. And yeah, I think you're completely right because now I'm looking at this, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. And this just like gives Veigar an extra wave, and like you get this dragon regardless of where your wave is anyway.
Lee Sin's top.
Yeah, exactly. And also just because like okay, if Lee Sin hadn't shown top, you guys should know that you win a skirmish anyway because you're so strong right now compared to them. Oh, let me just D&D my league. I'm getting spammed. Wait, I am D&D. Okay, anyway, back to the VOD. So yeah, you would get this dragon anyway, and I think you could have denied Veigar a full wave there. Yeah, those guys don't. Oh, maybe they're gankable. Okay, good. So I think this was good. Like, okay, well, this was good. I think because you actually looked. You know, you looked at it and you saw. Okay, these guys are like half HP. If they push up, like you can punish them, and you notice they're too pushed up. You come down, get the good punish. This is really good if you can pull this off because like you get Seraphine sums and you get the kill. So that's really awesome. Oh wow, Sedge kind of entered, but now to be honest, here it's really important. Like this is actually really important that you ping Kai'Sa to grab this mid wave so that you can farm this bot wave. Otherwise, your team as a whole misses a mid wave, but also you miss out on a lot of CS. Like you committed a lot for this, and you did get a kill, right? But right now you're not farming anything. So it would be ideal if Kai'Sa collected mid and you collected bot. I can understand maybe not wanting to push this because it's pushing to Kai'Sa, right? Which does... Oh, wait, no, okay. She's committed to walking mid, actually, anyway. I guess, actually, this is fine now because you could base and run bot out of base, probably. Let's see what you run. Oh, okay, so Sedge ended up taking the wave. At least someone took it, but I feel like you kind of got a little bit shafted here.
Oh, so I should take the wave normally?
Yeah, I think so, because... Well, I don't know, there's like a couple things...
It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's like... You would expect... I don't know, like freezing the wave looks really good, and it is good. If Kai'Sa goes mid and then you base and run back bot, I think that's probably the best case scenario. But it looks like what happened here is your team ended up just pushing that wave anyway. So now out of this, like the people that got farm was Sejuani and Renata, which is like the two people that don't need it, you know? And instead they're like high value carries. Kai'Sa missed a wave mid and you missed a wave bot. So that was pretty awkward. I think, yeah, maybe you should just have in your head like, you just need to be a bit greedier. It's definitely more selfish to not freeze that wave and push it in. But I think you can be like confident in yourself to carry the game if you get the resources. And you can like ping your team to help you push that wave out. And that way you can ensure that you kind of get the farm. I think yeah.
So quick question about that. If I gank bot and the ADC is there, like let's say I did that same role, but Kai'Sa was actually there while I did it.
Yeah.
And should I just base or should I still just...
I would say like don't hard tax them, like don't take their entire wave in front of them, but do try get like a couple creeps. Just basically try push it in with them unless they want it to freeze. It's a bit harder if the ADC is there. But the main reason why that was so important for you there is because Kai'Sa wasn't there and the two people that were there were both people that don't care about CS, right? So if your ADC gets the farm, it's like it's definitely more, or it's like equal value to you, I would say. But for Sejuani and Renata, like it doesn't matter at all.
I see.
Now I'm wondering if this is a... Okay, it's not a kill.
This is a kill. I misplayed
you think
because
it's a
I walked
kill?
Into the cage. Yeah.
Because he has flash.
Oh well, yeah, it's a flash.
Yeah, I think it's a flash. Because well, you end up getting his flash here anyway because he greeted extra hard. But yeah, I think you're right. Like he definitely has to flash, and maybe you do kill him. Like, You have pretty crazy chase downs, so I'm not totally sure. Also, something I'm also not sure about is I've seen some people max W on Quinn, literally for the attack speed. So I
Oh,
have
so
no idea what's better.
yeah, so it's basically like if you go lethality, you max Q, and if you
Okay.
go crit or like on hit, you max W. But it tends to be like the way that I play, and I think the way a lot of people play is that if you like if you see how kind of like fights go, like if an average like fight against their team involves you know, like an extended fight where you like chase them with autos for a long period of time, it tends to be better W. But if an average fight is like you kill them or they kill you in one rotation, then it tends to be Q.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm glad you've done your research because I don't know that much about Quinn, to be honest. Now this guy, I think, is being really greedy here. He has no flash, and he's pretty pushed up on the wave, so I think you could definitely look for a kill. Now you see Lee Sin... Okay, so Lee Sin hits this plant behind you. That's kind of a weird angle, though. Like, I would not have expected Lee to be there. That sort of sucks, you lost that health, but...
Yeah, I was really confused by that.
Ping assistance. I think here, one thing you could do is you could maybe make Veigar lean kind of towards your pink ward and towards your Sejuani. So you know Lee is here. And I think if you played like right up here, Veigar would probably mirror you and walk somewhere here, which would make him like pretty easy pickings for for Sejuani. And I think right now you're kind of leaning Veigar a bit more towards safety. I can understand standing here because you are hugging towards your vision and towards your jungler. But in this case, like you knew exactly where Lee was, and I think you could have played, I guess, like positioned in a way that makes it a bit harder for him. So he bases. You clear this. Do we look at bot, or do we just run bot?
Yeah, I need to get better at looking at things.
I think it's not a bad roam anyway. Because,
yeah,
okay,
I
so
think...
you know that Seraphine doesn't have sums because you came down here before, so that's pretty big. And also your jungler is on this side and your wave's pushed. So the only, like, bad thing, or, like, bad thing maybe about this roam is that they're really high HP, but there's a lot of good things, like, that you can see, right? Like the no sum, the wave position, and having your jungler near. So I kind of like going for the roam. I think maybe if you were playing, like, a more farming champion, this wouldn't be high enough percentage. But you're playing Quinn, right? Like, you want to get stuck in fights and kind of get some snowball going. So I like that you went for this. I think you can get some kills here. Nice. So you get a kill on these 3-0. So you're in a really, really good spot.
Yeah, and I think, you know, now that I'm seeing this and you're kind of pointing out about the vision stuff too, is I think one of the ways that I play is I think I'm kind of playing very, like, doing the same thing all the time. Like that roam, I would have done it always because I'm always
exactly.
Which is like, you know, a mistake by me because the way that I think I play is I'm always like, oh, I'm playing an early game champ. If I shove the wave, I have to do something. I have to, like, you know, tempo the game. So I always, like, you know, like I went for the dragon, which was a mistake, right? I always kind of like just like press R, let me go somewhere and do something. So I think here it worked out, but I think there are times where it doesn't.
Yeah, okay, that's good that you recognize that. Here, this was really good. You get the kill. I'd say the only thing you could have done a little bit better here is you should just, quickly before basing, you should tap this tower a couple times so you can get the turret play. Because you're in, you get back on the map so quick that you shouldn't be worried about, like, the tempo at all, pretty much. Like, Quinn pretty much has, like, a tempo cheat in her ultimate, which is, like, actually super OP, you know? Like, I feel like Quinn ult is one of those things that when people are newer to the game, they think Quinn ult sucks. But it turns out, like, for a champion like Quinn ult is so broken, you know? Like, it's so important for you. It allows you to do so many, like, tempo cheats and, like, gather more farm than, like, a normal champion could because you can just move around the map, like, super efficiently, pretty much.
Yeah, one thing I noticed by playing this champ is that, like, I know you were talking in one of the other videos about, like, champions like band-aid fixing things, and I think that's what happened to me because when I play other champs, like, my macro was so bad because I wasn't, like, able to be everywhere at once.
You know? I could definitely see that.
Very hard for me.
Okay, so you come mid out of base, and I think you could maybe path to this more aggressively. Like, I think, do we have any idea where Lee is? So what happened? You killed Lee bot. Fiora sees Lee right here. I think if you're paying really, really close attention to the map, although admittedly it's quite hard, you know Lee is in the top side right now, and you could actually go through your bot side and maybe gank Veigar through your bot bush. Because he doesn't have flash, so he's very killable. I think what you could do, you just move towards him, bait out his cage, and then you can probably like wrap around and kill him. So I think, yeah, you
Yeah.
probably can get a kill here. And actually, yeah, like, okay, imagine if you had done this from like below him, you know, rather than just like running straight at him. I think you probably would have got a kill. Again, I think this is too shallow a ward. I can kind of understand this one a bit more because you have no vision bot side, no vision top side, and your jungler's off the map. So it is a pretty scary situation. But I think, again, you're pretty... Okay, Veigar uses cage, so they have no CC at the moment. You should be pretty safe to clear out this wave and just wait for your W to come back up. And then after that happens, I think then you W just to check if anyone's nearby, and then if they're not, then you can get your deeper ward. Instead, it's just another ward that it doesn't offer your team enough for how far ahead you are, pretty much. What the? This guy's the top laner. What?
Yeah, I kind of like die to things like this a lot because I don't expect like that type of a roam here.
Yeah. Well, you played it well mechanically. Well, sort of. You did walk into a Veigar wall. I mean, I wouldn't expect this either. This is super strange. Like,
Especially because
really
his wave
strange.
is like
Yeah,
like, not
exactly.
anything.
Like, Fiora gets his towers, so I think if you had died to this, I wouldn't have mind. I think it's like, it's a bad roam by Cho'Gath, and he would be punished very hard for doing it. Like, I think he loses his tower either way. I think you play it pretty well for the most part. I think if you hadn't walked into this cage here, like, you just, like, walk into it for some reason. But if you hadn't, I think you would have killed Veigar. And maybe you do anyway? You kill him, right? But yeah, he dies to Ignite. So yeah, you could have played it a bit cleaner. It didn't need to be that close, but overall, like, you definitely played it well, right? So, no big deal there. Fiora should not have come to this. She should have taken the top tower, but you can't do anything about that. Okay, you come, get a tower plates, and you push another wave. Okay, this is really good. Okay, here I would probably base. How long in Dragon? I can't see because of the... I think it says 22 or something.
Yeah, it's like something like that. Oh, so I should have based for the dragon?
Yeah, so I think here it's like you should realize that you have stayed on the map for like a very long time. You don't have great resources right now, like your HP is about half. You don't have any sums, and you have almost 1k gold to spend. So I think here you probably just base to make sure you're as strong as possible for when you come out of drag. I guess, like, if your Sedge wants to come, maybe you can kill these guys, but it's like a bit lower percentage, I think. But let's see, like, maybe you can kill them, because you are really strong. You get a kill.
That's actually a question I have too, because I think I have a lot of games where I'm like torn between what I want from tempo and what like my team is doing tempo wise. Do you know what I mean, right? Because I think a lot of times I'll have situations where it's like, you know, I want to base, like, you know, I could buy something, but my team is like, oh, we're going to a fight. It's always like, really hard for me to know what the right answer is.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think maybe in this situation, though, the way to kind of let's see. Hold on, let me just back up a bit. So after this, you're very low, but you want to stay because you can hit this tower, which makes sense, and you can clear another wave as well. This is all good. Okay, I actually think what I would probably do here is, rather than fully committing to the roam, what I would do is I would probably run halfway down the river, like to where Sejuani is, and then you can like reassess if you need to base or not. So I think maybe when you're around this point, if the enemy bot lane has pushed up as far as they have, then you can commit to the roam, and if not, you can base. But I don't think you really... Like, you didn't evaluate it, right? Like, you already had in your mind that you were just going to roam here no matter what. And so this time, I think you're kind of lucky that they pushed up, because I think they should realize, like, their mid died. Renata cleared a ward here, so she's in the bot river. I think they probably don't know where Sedge is, but they can think that you're ganking here, and they're still trying to push up. So it's really, really greedy by them. And I think, yeah, like, this game... It's good, like you realize that they're too far up, but I think, yeah, maybe you need to just get into the habit of actually assessing the roams rather than just like going for every roam. Although you can go for more roams than like a normal champion on Quinn. Say like other champions need to take like a roam that works 70% of the time. You can probably take ones that are more like 50% of the time. But you still need to actually think about it, rather than just running down bot
Yeah,
every time.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree, and I definitely see that now because I do have a lot of games where like those roams just don't work out, and
Yeah.
it's like very very punishing.
That guy DC, did he? That's so unlucky. Hey, I'm on the map. So good. Bait his cage. Good trade. Really good, actually. Here you should definitely take Raptors. I don't really like this, to be honest. I think this... I mean, it's gonna work, but... Honestly, I don't think that's as good. I think it would be better to just, like, go Raptors, another mid-wave, and then the mid-tower. Is this
Hmm.
is this Seraphine support or AD?
Yeah, support.
Is she the one
Actually,
farming
I'm not
though?
sure.
Yeah, because I'm not sure.
I'm
Because
actually not
if
sure.
she's the one farming, this definitely becomes better. But I'm not. Well, I mean, she's farming this wave, but it's hard to tell. Can we see her items? Okay, no, she is a support item, so she's definitely the support in this situation. Just a kill is nowhere near as valuable as like a kill and denying the CS. And here, like Sen is still
Hmm.
farming, so you don't really. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't convert into anything more than a kill. Like this is just
Yeah.
300 gold. Whereas I think if you take Raptors, it denies it to Lee. If you can take this mid tower before Veigar respawns, that opens up the map a lot. And also, if you are struggling with kind of like closing out games, a lot of these like turtle comps that just like want to AFK scale, the longer it takes for their mid tower to drop, it can be very, very difficult to play because some of them, well, like Veigar, for example, has like really, really good wave clear, right? So you need to really take advantages of times that he's dead to like make sure this wave dies. Yeah, see, this actually sort of wasn't that great for you. You got 300 gold here, right?
Yeah.
But you gave up 150 gold on the mid wave, like 80 gold on the Raptors, and then like probably another 160 on the turret plate. So despite you taking the risk, and like, okay, maybe it's like a calculated risk and it goes well for you, but I actually think you lost gold by coming for this, and you definitely
Hmm.
lost XP because you shared it with 3 people. So yeah, I would have preferred you just to play a bit more selfishly there. Um, and take like just the
Yeah.
extra waves and the camp and stuff like that. So good.
Um. Yeah, this part is bad. This is just too much.
What happened? You were like full HP. I should go right back here. Yeah, I got the choke kill. I think that's good. You have Sedge coming soon. Like everything looks good at the moment, so I'm kind of curious where it went wrong. Like Veigar's used Cage, but it's like looking good at the moment. Up until this point, this is still good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is it. This is
yeah.
it.
I think this is the problem here. It's like you're chasing forward with no mana for like if you have E, I think this is different, right? Because if Lee goes on you and you E him, he probably gets pretty messed up, but you don't have any again, it's like the resources thing. Like your Q is on cooldown, so that's a resource you're down. You have no mana to use your other abilities, no flash, no ignite. So yeah, you're just like being really aggressive here and you don't have like the tools to back it up basically. That's a
Yeah.
pretty who got it? I can't like see in chat.
Veigar.
Oh yeah,
Veigar. He
okay.
got
That's definitely
1,000
yeah, that
gold.
is a worst case scenario. So that's
Yeah.
really a really rough death. You can afford to be a little less like psycho when you have a big bounty. Like normally Quinta Chandler needs to play really aggressive, right? But if there is a time for you to just like play a little safer than normal, it's when you have like that 1k bounty and you just need to like chill out just a little bit more.
Yeah, when I was also reviewing this one myself, I was like, yeah, that was just completely awful, and it was like a compensation thing because my team, like, it was like it felt like me and my team were like baiting each other because
Hmm.
I kind of knew that it was like overstay, like whatever, we killed Seraphine, let me just back, but
Yeah.
they were like, oh, we're all here, like it was kind of like I get those moments sometimes where like I feel like we're all just baiting each other because we're all like there, like this too, it's like, oh, she pinged, she's on the way, and I'm like here, and it's like it doesn't like feel super great.
Well, I think this is actually pretty good because you have
Oh
sustain.
yeah,
Like you have a lot
yeah,
of
I could have.
sustain, so if you chunk out this Veigar, like it gives you this opportunity probably to get this mid tower. So this mid tower should die, which it does.
Actually, also quite a question about the tower thing too.
Yeah,
Like I've
sure.
heard some people say, like I've heard, like I've seen YouTube videos where some people like say like taking towers early isn't that good because if you're winning lane, you want to kind of like choke them out of resources, and if you like take the tower, you can push it. But then I've heard other people say that like taking towers is good because then you can kind of like roam around and do whatever you want. So kind of like in this case, I know you said that it was good for me to take the tower
Hmm.
early because I wanted to open up the map. But
Yeah.
like generally, when are there cases where I should be like trying to like take the tower? Like when is the tower really valuable or when is it not valuable?
I would say in mid lane the tower is pretty much always important because like most of the champs you're gonna play against, you are not really gonna be able to deny them from CSing. Like, okay, if this tower is still up, you can't stop Veigar from farming this anyway, right? Like it makes no difference if this tower is up or not. If we go to the other extreme, like maybe a champ that does sort of struggle with farming on the tower, like maybe like Silas or something could have trouble, and then maybe you could freeze the wave. That's like an argument, I guess, for not doing it, but I think like this opens up the map. It allows you to start farming like raptors. It gives you more time to like go for roams because you can push the wave further up. I think it's more of a thing in like top lane and bot lane because sometimes you can just like literally stand between their towers, like and deny them off the tower completely. But you can't do that in mid. So I would say, yeah, especially in your situation, like where you're playing Quinn, I don't think there's ever a situation where I wouldn't take the tower. That being said, if there's a time to not hit the tower, it like just hitting the tower itself is a pretty big waste of tempo. So it's like you hit the tower if there's nothing better to do, basically, right? Like if there's no roams or camps or like a base or something to take, hitting the tower is like the last resort. Because just hitting the tower itself, I guess if there's turret plates, it gives gold, obviously, but especially now, like if the turret has no plates left, it's only valuable once it dies. Like just damage on the tower, it doesn't immediately give you anything, and it's a big tempo investment. So yeah, but I think taking the tower itself is really, really valuable.
Gotcha. So I should try to. So I shouldn't waste tempo on hitting towers. But if I have to choose between like a roam or killing the tower, like just like
Yeah.
should finish off the
Yeah,
tower.
definitely. There shouldn't be a situation where you're like, oh, I'm not going to kill this mid tower because I like want it kept alive. I don't think that should ever happen. I think you just always take
Yeah,
mid tower.
and like in the case of the Seraphine roam, it's like if I have to choose between going to roam and killing Seraphine or taking the tower, I should choose taking the tower if I have the ability to do so.
Yeah, well, I think in that situation, it was also that it wasn't just the tower. It's like there was still turret plates, and there was like another wave coming, and there was like a jungle camp.
Oh
So
yeah.
if it was just between like hitting a tower with like no turret plates and there was like no camp and no wave, then yeah, like the Seraphine kill is probably better. But in that case, there was way more value that you could get anyway. So this sucks because Kai'Sa should go mid. But if Kai'Sa is going bot, then you need to go mid because you don't want to share XP and gold with your ADC. Well, with anyone
I
really.
see.
But so I think Kai'Sa's sort of trolling here, but like the reality is your teammates, like you can't trust them, they're all dumb. So here I would probably, once you realize Kai'Sa's just committing to this, I would probably run mid. Because the problem is here that you just sit here for a while and you don't get any farm. I mean, you do get a flash. That guy gets kicked in and dies. So yeah, this was a really, really bad time for you because it's like, okay, if we look
Oh, I see.
from this point, this is what, like 1430? You have 87 CS, right? And now, almost
Then
a minute and a half later, you have not got a single gold. Like, yeah, you haven't got any gold in this time. And that's like, you can't afford this to happen if you're an early game champion. Like, you need to get ahead and stay ahead. Like, champions like Quinn scale well, but only if they stay ahead, Like, if you... Champions like, yeah, like Kale and Lucian... I mean, not Kale. Sorry, Quinn, Lucian, stuff like that. They scale well because they hit 6 items when everyone else is like 3 or 4 items, But if you hit 6 items or like 4 items or whatever at the same time as everyone else, then you don't scale well because you're too short range and people are just going to one-shot you. So... yeah, it's like if you have these like big windows where you're not getting any farm, it should feel really bad to you. And this is something that's come up a lot, like in a lot of coaching sessions, is it should just feel bad for you whenever you're not getting like farm or XP, and if you're ever sharing that with other people. Like that needs to be such a big, just like it needs to be like an alarm going off in your head, you know, like I need to find something right now because I'm like starving. I like need gold right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, even though I should be going bot, if the ADC goes bot, I should just like go.
Yeah, you just kind of have to adapt. It's not worth like trying to play like it's an LCS match because your teammates aren't playing like it's an LCS match. So you've just got to do like what you can basically. This I don't mind this, to be honest, because I think you have your jungler nearby. It was kind of unfortunate for you, I think, that Lee was still here and you are forced to flash, but I think you get out or you did. Oh, you're out. So, yeah, I think that was okay. I feel like this all kind of happened just as a product of like the waves, because what should happen is like, okay, if Kai'Sa's mid, Kai'Sa Renata get prior over Veigar because it's 2v1, and then they can come down and help you. Or if Kai'Sa stays bot, like you get prior versus 1v1 versus Veigar, and then you can walk down and help them. So either way, whichever assignment you're in, you should get prior over mid, and like, or you know, your team should get prior over mid, and they can like lean that pressure down to help the other person. But instead what happens is you lose prior over mid, and like Lee's able to make this play for free, and then after this, like Veigar is the one with first move, while Renata's pinned under tower. So while I'd say this isn't strictly your fault, it's like if you had played this better, like macro-wise, I think you would have avoided this entire situation, and you would never know it would happen, you know? You would never even realize.
Yeah.
So I don't even mind this death here, because it's like yeah, you overstayed, you weren't paying as much attention, but the biggest mistake is like it's already made, you know? You put yourself in the like you put yourself in a place where you have to succeed at every skill check, because you've just like made the game really difficult for yourself at this point. And it's like, yeah, like you mess up one of the skill checks here and die, that sucks, but we just need to be in the position where it's not even a question, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. So so one thing about the lane swapping thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes what I notice that happens, and it didn't happen this game, is that sometimes my bot lane will go mid.
Yeah.
And their bot lane would stay bot, and then I would go bot, and sometimes I'll be in a case where it's like I can't really 2v1 them.
Yeah.
My bot lane isn't able to like do a lot mid, like they're just like there's just some mage and they're just farming.
Yeah, it's like trading farm. Yeah,
and they're just trading farm and they don't really do anything. And then I'm like kind of in a position where I'm like bot, and I'm like they're like threatening to dive me, or I have to like run away or something. So like what's kind of your opinion on those type of situations?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a situation you want to avoid. I think it's just like a solo queue thing that your bot lane will just always swap after the tower goes down because they're not really thinking about it. But you're right that definitely on like a high level, you would still want to just match lanes at that point. And I think if you feel like your bot lane doesn't get anything by going mid, you could just try like keep going mid and force your bot lane to go bot. But if that does happen, like if you do end up in that situation and you can't like convince your bot lane really to move, I would probably just like try and get as much farm as you can, maybe like move back and take the Krugs or something like that. And yeah, or maybe like ping your jungler to come help you or something. But yeah, that is a really annoying situation, and it's quite a hard one to fix, because it's just like, to explain this to your solo queue bot lane in the like limited time you have, you can't type an essay to them and just like make them understand it, So it's honestly just something you're gonna have to deal with sometimes. Although one thing that'll make this a lot easier is if you do manage to knock this tower down before that happens, you will avoid this situation a lot. Or if you snowball your lane enough that mage that they end up laning against is so weak that they can just kind of like overpower them. Either of those would be good, but yeah, it feels like something that's sort of just gonna be like a reality of solo queue, and that's really unfortunate, but it's kind of just the way it goes, which really sucks.
I see.
Now, this I think this is pretty bad as well. You do save the tower, but this is what I think you get like 170 gold from this guy. Yeah, like 176.
Oh, I should have went bot here. Right?
Yeah, so I think here if you go bot, you can push this wave, which puts you in a really good spot for dragging because they'll have to deal with the wave. Or if they don't deal with the wave, you can like maybe get a like good position here. Or if they go top to stop Fiora, then you can take the bot tower. So basically, oh, and also Krugs are down here. So you can look at this and be like, this is 176 gold. Down here is like probably like 100, like 150, maybe another wave, so maybe like 300. So I'm saying like 300 to 400 gold in this wave and only 170 here. So it's just like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. The one reason to stop this would be because of like the objective bounty, right? But I think you don't need to worry as much about objective bounties as you do like local gold. So right here, if Cho'Gath gets this tower, the objective bounty is split among his entire team, right? And so for Lee Sin and Cho'Gath, that gold's pretty much useless, I would say, at this point, because both their champs have kind of fallen off already. So it's really just for the other three. Now, if it's like Senna, Seraphine, and Veigar hitting this tower, you probably would want to stop the local gold, because like that gold is going directly to people that will use it well. But I think here it's like, you're coming here to stop this to get 170 gold for yourself and to deny like 50 gold to each of the important targets. Like it's nowhere near as much as you can get by going bot here. Especially because Fiora was doing so much here. I think you probably could have got the bot tower, and that would snowball the game a lot more than you do, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then also to kind of extend that question too, like, how aggressively should I be trying to like go for towers? Because I know you mentioned like, like I think I kind of don't really know too well how to end games early when I have a lead. Because like this is like one of those games where it's like like I'm still like pretty ahead, like a 9-3, right? Like I have like level and item advantage over everyone, but it's like I can't just like run at everyone and just kill them. So I'm always like in this position where I'm like I'm not really sure. Like, okay, I have the lead now, laning phase is over. How do I just like close the game?
Yeah. So I think the best way to play this would be, you're so strong in the side lane that I don't think, well, no one can match you. Like, you can 1v1 Veigar, you can 1v1 Cho'Gath. So, and also you have a Fiora that can do the same thing. So you guys are really, really strong in the side lane. I think what you should do, you should try push the side waves all the way to the tower. The only reason you wouldn't would be if you're scared of their jungler or something. But like when Fiora's pressuring like this, for example, you don't really need to be scared. She's going to draw them to you. So basically, if you're able to, you want to push the wave as far as you can to the enemy tower, and then you want to assess, like, okay, if no one's defending the tower, I can hit the tower and like probably take it. If someone is defending the tower, like check if you can dive them or not. I think versus Veigar and Cho, you'll probably have a hard time diving them. So in that case, if you can't dive them and they are defending the tower, you probably want to instead look to either like take enemy camps, or you can like push the wave all the way in and then just group with your team, and then when the wave comes back you can go back to that. To be honest, I need to make just like a general video on like side laning, because I think a lot of people struggle with it. But yeah, basically the kind of goal, or the like optimal, is to push the wave as far as you can, and then when you reach the tower, make a decision about like what the most pressuring play is, whether that's going to be like farming or like the jungle, farming like more waves, like hitting the tower, grouping with your team, whatever that is. Yeah, that'll help you keep ahead in gold and XP, and will definitely like snowball the game a lot, because it'll mean that you always have like one of the enemy team pinned under their tower, and that allows you to get like favorable fights. So like even if they've outscaled you, it'll allow you to get 5v4s. And also if they don't defend the tower, then it allows you to get like this huge gold what's it called, gold lead in the side lane, because you just get like 600 gold per tower, or whatever it is. So yeah, that it's kind of a lot to take in, I think, but that is kind of how you play
so
it.
basically, so try to like side lane aggressively if I can 1v1 anyone on their team to draw pressure,
Yeah,
and then create uneven numbers. So basically like try to create side lane pressure.
yeah. The scariest thing will be if you get jungle ganked, because Quinn, I think, like, I don't know, actually it depends what jungler you reverse. Like some junglers, I think like Lee, you deal with pretty well, and then there'll be some junglers like Evelyn that'll probably just destroy you.
So like Nocturne and
Nocturne's another
not,
one.
not
Yeah,
not necessarily like Rengar. Like it's kind of like situational, but like there are like these games that like feel really bad for me, which are games where I can't side lane deep because there's like they have like a comp where they can just like kill me really quickly.
yeah. Yeah, those games are definitely going to be hard. I think the one kind of nice thing is a lot of those champions do kind of fall off in the late game. Like not Evelyn really, but like I guess like Rengar Nocturne, for example, you can deal with quite well in late game team fights as long as you don't get one shot. So in those sort of situations, it's not as important that you snowball the game as hard. But yeah, I would just say that these champions do counter Quinn. Like they are going to be tough games for you, and that's sort of like the reality of being a one trick, right? Is that you're gonna eventually you're just gonna run into games where it's hard to play, pretty much.
I had another related question to you about that too, because so like with Evelyn, actually, I'm like semi comfortable with her because what I found is that if I build Maw, like she can never like one shot me.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I actually beat her if I have Maw, because I'm like, oh, if I have Maw, like I've actually had this scenario a lot where there's like an Evelyn who's like fed, and she catches me in the side lane with, and I have Maw, and then she actually just loses to me because once she uses her burst combo, she doesn't really have
Yeah,
that much
exactly.
damage. But I'm wondering what item you would recommend against AD champs, because I
Hmm.
haven't found like a one. Or like I've been building like weird shit like random and summon.
Yeah.
Like if I'm against like a Rengar or something, but I nothing like feels as good as building Maw against AP champs.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I feel like if you're team fighting more, like more often, I think GA can be quite good, but that doesn't really help you that much in the side lane because a lot of the time it's like if you get your GA popped, you might just get like killed instantly afterwards. So like GA can be an option. To be honest, I don't think you really have good options other than that. I think you could maybe go Ninja Tabi, but it might not actually help you that much, like the armor boots. So yeah, I don't really think you have great options. I guess another thing could be taking exhaust could actually help you beat a lot of
Mm,
these champions because normally if they don't one shot you, like you will win the extended fight, right? So
yeah.
maybe against these champions you need to take exhaust or something. I'm not totally sure to be honest. Um, yeah, but that would be maybe my guess. I think if you have exhaust and eclipse, you should be able to survive long enough to kill them. I would think.
So like if you were playing Lucian, for example, and
Hmm.
you know they had like a Rengar, you would take exhaust, like that would be kind of
Yeah,
your method
I
of
would
dealing with
probably
it.
take exhaust, or I would just like look to team fight, or I would hopefully not be a Lucian versus Rengar, to be honest. But
Yeah.
obviously, like that game happens sometimes. But I think if you're playing, well, on a higher level, like Lucian versus Rengar is actually fine because Lucian can, like Rengar is a weak early game, right? So Lucian paired with like a jungler that's invading, like a Nidalee or something, can make the Rengar completely useless to where it's not a problem. But if you enter the mid game and like the late game even as like Lucian versus or Quinn versus Rengar, then it's going to be really hard for you, right? But if you can reliably snowball the game and like put the enemy jungler behind, and actually you probably can do this as Quinn because you'll be warding their camps a lot and you'll have mid prior most of the time. You can probably put these champions behind and that'll make it a bit easier to play. But yeah, definitely if you're just even with them or if they get fed, let's hope they don't get fed. It's going to be like really, really difficult for you to play them out.
I see. I see.
Okay, skip ahead a little bit. Take this. Found the mid wave. This is all good. Yours pressuring. Now I think
Yeah,
here,
so this is the part. This is the part where the game starts to feel really unplayable.
yeah,
Because they start like cluster grouping and the Seraphine shields, and they outrange me, and they just kind of like one shot all of us. So
yeah.
it starts to feel really, really bad here.
I think here the main problem is you need to recognize that you don't want a team fight right here. They, to be honest, them cluster grouping like this is really bad because like they're not farming any waves with this. They're not doing any objective. They're just grouped 5 for no reason. I think if rather than running to this, you run to their mid tower and Fiora's pressuring their
Okay.
inhib, they're like losing the game right here. But the only reason this goes well for them is because you guys like you're
Oh,
handshaking
I
the team
see.
fight and not trading anything for it. Like all this time, this mid tower could be dying. You could be farming their raptors. You could be denying another wave. I guess you one shot this guy probably, right? Oh no, you get stunned. Yeah,
Yes.
so like again, it's like another skill check that you put yourself in that didn't need to
But
happen.
I
Like,
should have never. Yeah.
yeah, this is just like if their team fight comp is so strong, which it is. This is a rough team fight comp to verse. But also, even if you were against a team that wasn't that good at team fighting, you get so much here if you just pressure this mid tower, like waves, a camp, like probably the mid tier two, rather than like walking to a fight where your jungler's already dead and your strongest member. Well, I'm actually not sure if Fiora's stronger than you, but well, actually no, I think she is. She's level 13. You're level 11. Your strongest member isn't even at this fight, and you're still looking for the fight. So it's like super unnecessary basically. And yeah, I think this is another one of those plays where like it's not your fault that Kaiser and Renata and Sejuani die, but if you had made the right decision, it either wouldn't matter that they die because you would have got so much, or maybe this wouldn't have happened at all because maybe they would have backed off to deal with your wave. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
no, I definitely see that. I definitely see that. That definitely like illuminates that for me.
So that would make that a ton easier. This is good. Yeah, good farming, good farming. Although, I actually think you did this sort of in a weird order. Let me go back. So, Ilcho. That's good. Now, Kaiser's not here, which means you should farm this mid-wave. So right now you should be farming this mid-wave. And then, so you should push first and then look to move. Like, you should have that as a habit. Just like, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, push and then move. So you've like left this wave dead. And then you could come to red, but okay, it's fine. Like, you've lost one wave, but it's not the end of the world. You come and take this red, and then you see Lee coming, so it's good of you to back out here. And then you come and do this.
What I was kind of thinking in my head was I was like, I wanted to take the red because I knew Lee was just getting out of base, and I thought I wouldn't be able to take it if I waited.
Yeah, I think like you probably can get it in time, but if you can't, like you could take the Raptors or something instead, right? And I think it's just more gold if you get this wave. And like
Just
if you look at your
consistent,
CS, it's like you have
It's
110
trash.
CS at 20 minutes, which is like I feel like it's understandable somewhat for Quinn, but like the way this game went, it didn't have to be like this. You know, like there will be
Yeah.
some games on Quinn where this happens, but this game I could easily see 150, maybe 160, and that's like you would be a lot stronger. You'd probably be an extra level up, and you'd have a lot more items. And I don't really think that you would need to give up any of these kills for this. I think there is maybe only it was only the Seraphine kill. I think that was like a kill that you gave up, that you would have to give up, but you would have got more gold anyway. So it's like a kill you're willing to give up, you know. You come, you farm this Gromp, farm this Wolves. I like this. This is good. And then you path back top. So this was really good. Okay, like, compare this, by the way, to when that time where you didn't farm anything for like a minute and a half. In this minute here, you get a red buff, you get a Gromp, you get Wolves, and then you come top and get an assist. Like, you got so much money in the last like 30 seconds compared to that one time where you got like no gold for a full minute and a half. That this is like what should feel good for you, you know, when you're just like walking around the map like a vacuum cleaner, you know, you're just sucking up all the resources on the map. That should feel really good.
So is that generally kind of how I should try to play? Like,
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, like with your ult, you have the ability to just like bounce between waves to fights to camps, you know, like you can just go around the whole map just like eating everything you can possibly find and just, yeah, making yourself really, really strong. Hitting Baron, I think this... Okay, yeah, it's good. You see Lee bot. Veigar's dead. So this is going to be good. Get that. Come back on the map. Now, this is... You obviously can't go top because the top wave is too far away. You can't go bot because that's too far away as well. Kaiser's on the mid wave. You check the wolves and they're gone. So there's just nothing for you to farm here, unfortunately. So this is all good. Kaiser basing here is really troll, but you can't really stop her. So that sucks. Yeah, like your team's like trying to engage, which makes sense because you have Baron, right? Like it makes sense to be aggressive with Baron, but Kaiser fucked up and base. So yeah, you've got to realize that, I mean, I guess you realize that this is a really, really bad time to be aggressive now with your ADC in base. I mean, but she gets here almost in time. If yours hitting bots, I mean, yeah, this is all good. You're playing a range well. Like I get Seraphine ulted, but it's fine.
Yeah. So the situation that I'm in right here,
yeah,
is when I actually find myself in a lot of games where it's like I have the Baron, like I'm ahead, and then I literally can't walk up to the tower because they're just fucking
you're like too short range.
It's like, yeah, I can't really do anything. I can't dive them. I can't really, like, you know, I can't really do anything. I kind of just sit here and wait for like stuff to happen.
Yeah. I
So
think
you're saying so I should split push here, right?
well, I don't think you should go top because the inhib's already pushed in. I think you have two choices. You can either play in the lane with Fiora, like literally hide in the fog behind Fiora,
Hmm.
so that when Fiora gets ganked, it becomes rather than like a 3v1, it becomes a 2v3. But you probably win because you're both like really, really strong. And to be honest, maybe Fiora just wins a 1v3 anyway, but I think that could be more pressuring. Or another thing you could do is you could try be in a position to like counter engage anything that happens. So right here, it's really easy for the enemy team to make decisions because they see all of you, right? But if you're like hiding in fog here, they don't know if you're bot, they don't know if you're mid, they have no idea where you are, right? It makes just making decisions like way more difficult for them. The thing if you're just like hiding here, like then you get a flank and you don't even have to go in on it. You can literally show here and it'll just make them think twice about like walking forward on this, you know? Where you are right now is probably like the least pressuring play, I think, compared to like ganking bot or like hiding here. It's just like, yeah, it's like really low pressure, I think, to do this. And yeah, I also think in general it's much better in team fights if you can find a flank rather than just like walking straight at them. Like I think this is exactly what Senna Seraphine want. It's just a regular front to back team fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you'd found a flank, I think the fight would look way different. Yeah, and you die, and this is really punishing because if your team dies or loses with Baron, it's like 5 or 6 minutes or whatever where there will be no more Baron on the map, and that's just like free scaling for the enemy team, you know? So
Yeah.
this like whole Baron thing, it's not just your fault. Like, you know, your team was doing a lot of inting here, but again, it's like one of those things where the butterfly effect, if you play well, the game probably ends here. Like imagine you're behind this Fiora, or if you're in a position to stop this engage, because you actually lose a 4v3 here when you guys are ahead. That's like pretty weird. So
I know that, and that's why it feels weird for me too. But this actually like happens to me a lot.
Yeah,
That's why I wanted to like show this VOD because I'm like in this position all the time.
yeah. I think, yeah, the kind of order of stuff to do with like being in Fiora's lane is probably the best. Finding a flank is probably your second best, but either way, just having a regular front to back team fight is pretty much the last thing you want against those sort of champions. So, do you get punished quite hard for that? Oh yeah, you go.
Generally, if I am forced to team fight, I should try to be in fog and try to like.
Yeah, like I think normally you kind of have to wait for someone's cooldown to be used, you know, and then like say you wait for Veigar cage or like Seraphine ult, then you can look really aggressively. And also you can just create pressure, you know, by showing. You don't even have to commit to it, but you know that time, maybe if I go back a bit, where they're walking past here and like you just show and suddenly they're like, oh wait, there's like a 11 kill Quinn right next to me. I can't walk forward, you know? So
yeah.
You
Okay,
can create pressure just with your positioning. Now here, this inhib respawns. You take the Krugs. Now, I'm not sure what... Yeah, I think Fiora bot is probably better. Now, after these Krugs, you probably base and go top. Or maybe you just ult top. I'm actually not sure what's faster. Actually, no, I like this. So you took the cams. I think, again, you really need to be thinking about avoiding these fights. Like, this fight doesn't even look that good to begin with. Again, like, your strongest member Fiora isn't here. Your ADC starts the fight almost dead. And your jungler isn't here. And you're walking straight at them. So it's like maybe 4 or 5 things that make this not look good.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you just die here. Don't know for sure. Oh, you get a shutdown. Okay, well, I'm completely wrong, but I think this guy dies.
No,
and
it was still really bad. It's still not worth.
It doesn't convert into anything. You did manage to get the 450 gold on this guy. You very narrowly got out. But again, it doesn't convert into anything. Their support died, and you... I mean, yeah, you just traded supports. It's like another very even fight. Why is this guy pinging you? What could you have done? What does he want from you?
The Renata kept like typing, and she's like, "You have W, just walk at them." You know, the Renata just kind of wanted us to like suicide and then use the W to like resurrect ourselves.
Okay, super weird, super weird. So this is quite bad, but I think it's more Kaiser's fault. So one thing you should think about is that the earlier someone catches a mid wave, right? Obviously, the more time they get to pressure the map, and in the mid game. Like, whoever controls the mid wave controls the side lanes because they can move from mid to a side. If Kaiser is not going to contest these mid waves, then you should. And so letting a mid wave just walk down mid like this, Like you need to like okay, I can understand not walking through here because Veigar's pretty scary, but then you need to walk around and get to this mid wave straight away because instead this mid wave is just going to be dead even, which means your side lanes can't be here anymore. Like, yeah, your team should not be in
Oh,
this
I
position
see.
now. And also, yeah, you die. And okay, this is another thing is whenever you push in a wave, it forces enemies to respond to it, right? And that's why you can like move through the jungle freely. But right now, like no one is forced to respond to mid, which is why like Lee can be here for free and just like come kill you. So it's again another thing where if you had left earlier, you know, you can live. But the more important thing is just like the macro of making sure that mid wave gets pushed in earlier and like allowing your side lanes to actually play. So it's another death that just sort of happens
Is because I put myself in a bad position.
yeah, it's like you put yourself in a place where you have to play really well, and you're just not you're not playing it perfectly, basically, right? And you shouldn't have to play perfectly. You're making the game. What the fuck is this? You're making the game like super hard for yourself over and over when there are just like way easier plays. Like maybe a challenger Quinn gets out of there, right? But also I think you could make a pretty good argument that the challenger Quinn wouldn't be in there in the first place. Wouldn't have to have that.
Yeah. What's very interesting about you saying that is I watch a lot of like, you know, high elo VODs and like, you know, VODs from good players. And whenever I watch them, I'm like, man, this person like never finds themselves in the position that I'm in, where they're like, you know, like whatever, like, you know, their team is like all dead and they're surrounded or something. But like, you know, I know kind of like to a degree that that's like, you know, like they never find themselves because they like in advance do things not to be in that. And I think a lot of the things you're saying here are sort of illuminating that to me and showing me that like, you know, like if I was playing better macro, I wouldn't need to be in positions where I would need to do crazy shit to live because I would just never like feel that struggle.
Yeah. I think one thing like a lot of lower elo players kind of think when they watch VODs is they're like, oh, this guy like I could play all these situations like as well as him, and then like they also think like, oh, these guys just like look like noobs because you know he's kind of like farming them and stuff, and it's all that like stuff before of like putting yourself in the situation where it's just so easy to play, you know? Because I think if you had been, you know, like okay, let's say we were both playing this game together, and I just like did all the macro for you, I think you would play out all the situations I put you in, right? Like you have no trouble executing on the scenarios or like on the situations. The problem for you is just like, yeah, you keep putting yourself in situations where you have to be like really like focused and like really on point with playing everything perfectly. And yeah, it just doesn't need to be that hard, pretty much.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
Now,
generally, if things start to feel that way, like if I'm playing and situations feel really hard, like this situation, the reason is you know, I shouldn't be like focusing on like how can I play these situations better. I should be focusing on like what did I do that led up to the situation happening,
well,
and how do I just not have these happen.
I think it's both. Like I don't think your takeaway from a situation should ever be like, oh, there was nothing I could have done better, like I'm just gonna not think about it. I think you should think like, okay, if I do end up in these fucked situations, like how do I play it better? But it's also really important that you don't end up in these really like I don't know what it's, maybe just like you don't go down the rabbit hole of being like, okay, maybe if I'm like, you know, playing really well here and I realize like Lee Sin is here and because he moves this way, like I know to click down, you know, you can go really far in depth to playing a situation well. And that is good, right? Like if you can play skirmish as well, if you can like plan things in advance, that will make a big difference, right? Because even the best players in the world find themselves in bad situations sometimes, right? But it's just also really important that you think about, I don't know, it's like when you see a bad situation happen, you should, I guess, first think, how can I play this situation better? But also think, can I make sure this like never happens in the first place? So it's like you need to think about both, really.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I definitely wasn't viewing things that way or like reviewing my own gameplay that way. So that actually helps a lot.
Okay, cool. Now, what dragon is this? Like, is this third dragon or fourth dragon? Because I think you mentioned like third dragon fights were really hard, but is this the third dragon or is this the soul? Or what is this?
I forget, but
27 minutes. Surely it's not fourth.
It's usually the dragon. Like it's usually around third or fourth, where everyone in the game is kind of like we're contesting this. You know, like the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
lobby, the whole like usually third that the whole lobby just commits to contesting. Whereas first or second, like you know, half the time people just kind of like the people who get it are the people who commit more members to it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the fourth drag for you and the second drag for them. I think if you're, I mean, like, if this is a competitive game, I actually think you would probably just both split push here, but like you said, it's solo queue. There's no way you can convince your team not to contest the fourth drag. Like, it's literally impossible. Even in Challenger, this will happen. Even if it's not the correct play, like, people will just always come here. So I think, yeah, you can't really stop this, unfortunately.
This is actually also another question too. Is like if I am in a situation like this situation where it's like you know my team is gonna in for the dragon and
Yeah.
I know we lose the fight. Should I like be there anyway, or should I just like just go? And
Actually,
farm?
I think maybe maybe you can stop them. I think like right here, like okay, this should be a really bad fight because like they are much stronger team fighters than you, and your AD carry is dead. So you have to 45 against a
And
superior team fighting
our
comp.
support is top and our
Yeah,
like
exactly. So
your
I think
is,
actually you probably should just, even if your team wants to fight this, you should just ignore them. But ideally, you like backping them, and you just like push, maybe like suicide push this bot wave, or maybe you don't need to die. But either way, or maybe earlier. No, I don't think you could have been in a position to push top. So I think here maybe, rather than walking up here, you get ready to push this bot wave to where they commit. But there's not that much you can trade. I guess maybe you could run to their inhib, but I think you would probably die on the way out. But I think, yeah, probably the best you can do here is just make sure you don't die, I think, would probably be the best. I think, yeah, making sure you don't die is probably the best. Now, do you... Oh, you very narrowly live. How did this happen? Because I think this fight actually looks winnable. Like, I don't know if it should be, but they must have made mistakes or something, because I think it ends up looking pretty good. Okay, I actually think this is like a positioning problem before the fight again. Like, you've ended up just in the front to back. Like, if you look at their carries, like their Veigar, their Senna, they're in positions where you can't really hit them again. So I think it would be better to either wait longer in this bush for them to commit further, or to just like have pushed this wave and then come behind them. Because you just end up in the situation where their carries are behind Lee Sin and behind Cho, and you just can't do anything again. Like, yeah, like look how useless you are right now. If you have a flank and you're with Fiora, you actually probably do win this fight. But you're just super useless. Yeah, you're super fucking useless here.
That is honestly a huge weakness of mine, and I definitely see that. Yeah, my team fighting feels really bad, and I think you're completely right about the flanking thing, because I always feel like I like can't get to people, and I think the flanking thing is definitely like the answer to that.
Now, how do you guys not... What happened here? Okay, so...
Oh, this is I think this was a pretty big mistake on my part, because I think I should have just went with them.
Yeah, I think you can. Like they have inhibs down. You can probably end through top. I don't think you can end through bot, but I'm pretty sure you can end through top here. Oh yeah, they pinged to your top. Yeah, okay, definitely a big mistake. That sucks. I think you probably would have ended the game here, but to be honest, the game is over anyway, in my opinion. Like, you should be able to win with 3 inhibs down and Baron spawning. So, unless you guys make a really big mistake...
We lose this.
How? Oh, okay, I'm kind of excited, honestly. I feel like this is the freest possible win. Okay, so you come... Okay, here, I think you're pathing to the wrong side of the map. At the moment, this bot wave is already pushed up as far as possible. You need to make sure that this third wave is crashing as well. Instead, this, like, Cho actually manages to push this out, which means you're only crashing 2 waves. Yeah, like, look how far this third wave is. It's, like, really, really far. If this third wave is crashing now, it's gonna make this a ton easier.
Yeah, so this part is sort of, like, we lose this because they kind of just, like we can't really touch them under their towers, and they just kind of range us. Like, this actually, I think, for, like, 5 minutes, we attempt to siege their, like, you know, like, base with no inhibs, and they just, like, we just can't do anything, and it feels very, very bad. And I've actually had, like, a lot of games that literally look like this, where it's, like, I get an early lead, and then they have, like, it's, like, crazy champs that are just really good at team fighting, and they just, like, turtle in their base. And we just literally can't end the game.
I think if you had pushed this top wave, there's a pretty decent chance that you can end the game here, but like, in the situation you're in now, I don't think there's much more you could do to end the game. I think you just like back out of here. But again, it's not the end of the world because, oh well, this is sort of bad. I think this was pretty greedy to try go for the re-engage. Again, it's like 4v5. Your health bars are low. You're engaging without a flank. You know, I think this should be another situation where this shouldn't look that good to you, in my opinion. So you burn both your sums. You don't really get anything for it. Yeah, so I think that was pretty bad that you re-engage there. You take all the camps, which is good. I think now you should just try control the bot jungle as much as you can, and get the Elder, I would imagine, in a minute. You get another kill. So this should be another opportunity to end the game. Cho'Gath is dead. I'm kind of curious that you guys can't. Oh, it looks like bot. Oh no, that's still an inhib thing.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how we literally have their whole base and they're actually just turtling, and they can pull us off?
I think here, rather than hitting the tower, you should actually hit the creeps first, just to make sure these get under the tower and kind of do the work for you. Because I think, yeah, like against Senna, you're heavily outranged. But the problem is that if they are hitting you, they're not hitting the creeps, right? But if you can crash these creeps in time, I think this tower would have died. And if you can get it down to one tower, it makes the job so much easier. This Kai'Sa keeps repeatedly inting, so that's very unlucky.
Yeah, but I think that's like something that would be expected in solo
yeah,
queue. Like,
exactly. Like you can't do anything
your
about
team
it.
to, like,
Do you get that inhib? To be honest, there's nothing else. I think it's almost like a good death because, like, you can't contest Elder. If you die, it doesn't make a difference. Actually, the biggest thing here is you shouldn't have walked away. I think you should have just tried a 1-for-1.
Just suicide.
Yeah, I think you're dead here no matter what. And I don't think it matters either way, honestly, whether you die or not here. Oh, he stole it. Dude, this is a banger. This game's awesome. Sucks that you didn't get that, but because you have Elder, you should get Baron. Okay, so here, this I think is probably a mistake for you. So if this is earlier in the game, it makes sense to like come bot and make sure this pushes in, right? But when you're in the ultra late game, I would say probably about, well, yeah, just like when Elder is on the table, especially when you have Elder, you just need to group and fight because you can't trust your team to play properly. Like, yeah, at a high level, this is better to come pressure this and then you can come back. But you just can't trust your team to do that. And at this point in the game, the stakes are so high and you don't really need any more gold or XP. You know, like you're level 18, like you're probably not going to finish this last item. So right now is where you just join the ARAM with everyone else. Instead, you're like almost throwing the game for a blue buff, which doesn't feel great. Like, I think you probably could have made sure Kai'Sa didn't die here. And you don't even push the bot wave anyway.
That's so funny because it's like, you know, in the review, the part of the game where I should have been like split pushing and creating pressure, I wasn't, and the part of the game where I should have been team fighting, I'm not. That's funny.
It sucks because you type don't fight, but it's just, yeah, they can't be trusted pretty much. Yeah, and he got the Elder, right, the Lee, so it's really, yeah. I mean, I think at this point there's probably no way to win. But you had like probably like 50 chances to win the game, so that's quite a lot of chances.
Yeah, so I guess. Yeah.
All right, so let's write you some notes. So I think normally I split this into early and mid game, but there was just so much that I'm just gonna write it all together. So I think for you a big thing is like I'm gonna put like prioritizing waves. So like there's lots of times where and actually just like thinking about roams. So these kind of go hand in hand, but there's lots of times where you're roaming and you're giving up a lot for it, or you don't even think about the roam, so you're just like hoping that it works. And then you need to prioritize like waves quite a bit more. So there's times where you're like in the mid game and in the early game where you're just like leaving waves for no reason, or you're not pushing waves. And again, I want this like feel bad when you're not farming. Essentially, this should feel pretty bad for you. I think your team fights, well, yeah, you need to like find flanks in team fights way more than you are right now. I think also you should generally push the side wave more than you are right now. I think also as a champion identity thing, you should be a bit more aware of like you do want team fights, but if you're verse or yeah, I guess if you're verse a heavy team fight comp, like you can just avoid them. You don't have to just handshake the 5v5 because like you will normally lose. To be honest, I've like sort of forgotten some of the stuff from earlier in the game because it was like so long. What else was there?
Yeah, it was a really long game. I think some we did talk about some of the stuff with like the warding, like when I'm
Oh
against
yeah. So that's a good thing.
like when yeah, like if I'm against like you know a champion that's really weak early, can't get prio, and if I'm not under like dying of gank threat, I should actually get more aggressive vision instead of just kind of like
Yeah,
warding next
yeah.
to my bush.
I definitely agree with that. I also think, oh yeah, I think like resource assessment is a thing for you. So there's times where like you didn't have your ignite, like you didn't have mana, you know, those sort of situations, and you were still playing as if you had all that stuff, and that caused you to die a couple times. This was all fine. I'm gonna put in general just like I want to say pushing before moving. I think a lot of your stuff happens because you don't slash making a play. But this is kind of just a general macro thing, but I feel like so often bad things happen to you basically because you don't push a wave before you make the play, and that just ends up when, you know, it results in a situation that's like sort of fucked for you. And there were like a lot of times where that happened, like the Kaiser thing in the early game, you know, this play with the Lee Sin in the mid game. So there was a lot of those. I think those were the main things. To be honest, this might be a video that you have to like come back to and watch because like I've forgotten so much stuff that we talked about. This is definitely the longest one I've done so far, by the way. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's so good. I don't mind going over time. I find it pretty fun, to be honest. But yeah, I actually have like no idea what we talked about now. But I think this is pretty good. So okay, let's talk about like what you can work on, or what's like these are your things to work on, but like how to work on them. So I think the biggest thing. Oh, you go.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask too, in terms of like you know, like yeah, like lowest hanging fruit. Like, what would you say is like you know like from a priority of focusing things on?
Yeah.
Or,
Okay.
like how to like.
So I'd say your biggest thing should be like this thing. So like the wave importance slash pushing before doing stuff. I think just like thinking about how important waves are in general will make you like farm them and stuff more often. And this will like help you kind of like have better macro as a whole. And I think the easiest way to do this is to just like really focus on just thinking about waves for a while. Just like think about like all the, or think about just like what to do with your wave essentially. Like if you should push it, you know, if you can farm it, if there's another wave you can farm, just like all that sort of stuff I would think about. Honestly, I'd probably spend like a couple days or maybe even a week just thinking like, just trying to find all the waves on the map that you can farm. And I think this goes hand in hand with where was it? Oh yeah, like pushing the side wave more. So I think yeah, like it goes with it, but like pushing slash farming the side wave, I think these really go together, and like feeling bad when you're not farming. I mean, you already know that. I think the easiest way to do this is I want you to think, or if you were saying you like watch your replays, right? Try have a look.
Yeah.
Try look in replay for those like those dead farming times where you just don't get farmed for a really long time. You know, like that 1.5 minutes, and try and see if there's a reason that happened, and also if there's like a way that you could have got CS during that time. I think those are definitely the biggest things, and I think that's how you work on them. I think for the other stuff, it's like, I think the roaming and like deep ward prior is like more how you use your prior. I think so, like how you use your prior is another thing you should work on, and I think the way to do that is plan in advance what you want to do after pushing the wave. And a good way to do this, I think, would be again in the like whatever play you make in the game, come back to the replay after and just be like, you know, just look at it and and see, okay, like pause the game, just look at the game, what are all the things I can do with this wave? And so you might identify like 5 or 6 of them, you know? You might have basing, you might have hitting tower, you might have roaming, like farming camps, like moving with your jungler. There's a lot, right? And you can just like look in that freeze frame of like the paused replay, decide which is best, and then you'll kind of know when you see that situation again in a real game, like what to do basically. So I'm gonna say like you probably have to watch your own replays for this, or you could watch other people's replays. I think either of them would be fine. I guess, yeah, maybe the last thing that I think is pretty important for you is just like Quinn's identity. So if you like, you need to like snowball like into mid game, you need to like find flanks, you need to like find 1v1s, ideally avoid just like pure 5v5s. I think if you just like think about that, that'll come a bit easier. So yeah, I'd say these are like the biggest things for you to work on. Hopefully these are like how you work on it. But if you're kind of confused, you can just message me if you need any help with it. And yeah, if you have any questions now, just like go ahead and ask.
Yeah, so I guess this makes a huge amount of sense. So I guess the stuff about like, think about what to do with your wave. So I guess you're saying like step one obviously is push the wave before doing stuff, but then plan out, what am I pushing the wave for? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like if I go earlier in this game, just to show you an example, like okay, when I'm pushing the wave right here, I would probably know by like this time what I want to do when this wave crashes. Like I would already have looked at the map and kind of thought, because like there's nothing you need to do here, right? Like you don't really have to think about anything you're doing here. So you have time to think about what you want to use this wave for, whether that's basing, invading, like anything like that. So you can have that all planned out before the wave crashes. You don't want to like push the wave in and make your decision right here, Ideally, you want to have made the decision like back here. But the most important thing at first would just be pushing before you do things. And there will be exceptions. Like sometimes you won't want to push before you do things, but kind of up to you to like find those exceptions. And for a start, you just need to get into the habit of like the pushing before moving fundamental, I guess.
Okay.
All right, well, what I'll do is I'll copy paste this to you on Discord so that you have it.
Awesome.
And I will upload this later and link it to you. And yeah, you didn't mind it being public, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I'll upload that and send it to you. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. But otherwise, I think it was a pretty good session. Good VOD. I think there's a lot for you to work on from this one game. So I would recommend working on that for a while. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was definitely like wanted to show this VOD because I was like kind of like I thought it was like one of those VODs where it's like I sort of did everything correctly, but then their team was like very like OP late game team fight champs, and they just cluster grouped. But then I think you showed me a lot of things where it's like like a lot of macro decision making things that could have not put me in those positions to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool, man. Well, I think that's us.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Very, very insightful.